Thursday, 3 November 2022, roughly 15:30 hours for those of you in the civilian world. That is 3:30 p.m. here in the new Free Republic of Florida. It is a spectacularly beautiful day. Roughly 80 degrees, light wind, sunshine, puffy white clouds. Could not ask for a better day first week of November anywhere in North America, so I always want to be diligent and say thank you to everyone and God Almighty above for days like this. And truly, any day above ground and breathing is a day to be thankful for. For those of you who have joined us here at the YouTube channel, thank you for participating. Thank you for being part of my life. I very much value the discussions we have, whether we agree or not. For those of you who have stepped up at the next level over at the Patreon channel, you guys are making a huge, huge difference in my life, more so than what you know. It's only $1 per month over there. That's not the minimum level. That's the only level. It's the minimum allowable level that they have over there, but there is no higher level, meaning everybody is equal. $1 gives you access to everything going back historically all the way to really 2018, going on almost 5 years now. There's hundreds of videos over there, and the best part is sample it for 90 days. If you don't like it, full refund, no questions asked. Would love to have you guys over there. We can partner with Vimeo, take the gloves off, and talk about things like adults do. We don't have to censor ourselves like we do here, but make no mistake, the days of censorship are coming to a close because something is being learned, and we're going to be focusing that on the next video over at Patreon, so stay tuned. However, today, I would like to ask my audience a philosophical question, and it has to do with Antarctica. Florida Maquis, what do old sedans have to do with Antarctica? Let's say that you had gotten dragged out of bed by your better half on some weekend morning, out garage sailing, and you were looking through all of the useless crap, but there was a house that you pulled up to that had a little barn in the back, and they had a sign up that said that there were things for sale back there. So you go back there, and lo and behold, you poke your head in, and here is this beautiful, pristine 1978 Pontiac Catalina. Not a mark on it. You poke your head inside the driver's side window, 7,000 original miles. Everything inside looks just as it did back in 78 when it rolled off the lot. You pop the hood, fire it up, runs like a dream. Now, how many of you out there, if you had the financial ability to, would want to make an offer on it? A car like this would be incredibly rare and cost a pretty penny, but you'd have to ask yourself, why would the car cost more now than it did back in 1978, even in comparative dollars? In virtually every possible category, modern vehicles are technologically superior. They're more powerful, comparing apples to apples. They're more efficient. They've got all sorts of bells and whistles on them. Why would anybody pay the kind of money you would have to pay for a vehicle like this to drive it away? Well, number one, it's incredibly rare. But, that's kind of ethereal, a little subjective. You see, they just don't make vehicles like this anymore. Some might say, I want something without a computer in it in case of an EMP. That's a great argument. But these cars also rode like a dream. They were so big, so heavy. Now, they didn't corner, like a race car. But boy, you could go over a pothole and you would hardly know it was there. These things just floated like a cloud, and they were reliable and dependable and easy to work on. All sorts of reasons. Now, could there be things from the modern world that you could incorporate into the vehicle that would make it a little bit better? Well, sure. You'd probably want to take the original 1978 tires off and put on something a little bit newer because they'd probably be dry rotted by now. Perhaps if it was the old steel wheels, you might want to, if you could keep it looking close to stock, put maybe aluminum rims on it just so they didn't bend so easy. That was kind of a problem they had back then. There's different fluids modern fluids that are better for the engine, modern air filters, modern oil filters, different things that you wouldn't be able to see necessarily from the outside that could make it a lot more comfortable, especially inside. This one has the bucket seats. You could probably do all sorts of things to make it a little bit more comfortable, maybe replace the glass, because at that time, I'm not sure if every vehicle had safety glass. Now, you could go right down the list, but the point I'm making, here's the grander point. I know 5.5 minutes. What's your point, Mucky? The idea of taking old, really good technology and mixing it in with a little bit of good modern technology might lead to something that's way better than both. Now, here's that hard right turn. Way back, end of World War II, there were allegations that the Germans, who were the leading technological force at the time in the world, had discovered something in Antarctica, some ports, some avenues under the ice, and they had found something. They had found evidence of a lost world, and they were building a base there. They had found some technologies that they were attempting to master, but couldn't quite reverse engineer completely. But perhaps there were other technologies they could. And so they found their way out of the eyes of the modern world, and they began developing along their own path, away from global influence. Now, they had very old technology, but they also had some very ancient advanced technology. And perhaps they were developing their own new technologies as well. So they had three things. They all had to kind of incorporate together. Who knows what could have been developed from that, taking old technologies that were good and sound, but not perfect, incorporating new advancements of their own, and then perhaps ancient advanced technologies they didn't quite understand, but could use in a limited way, in a limited fashion. And over the course of the last 77 years, have developed something very, very different than what we developed. See, we went down one path and, based on having won the war, developed things in a North American way, in an English way. Perhaps they did things in a more germane way. And who knows, over 77 years, what hybrid types of technologies could have appeared. See, at that time, whale oil was used, and whale products were used to replace basically petroleum, the fats and the bones and the baleen and the skin, and all of that was used for myriad products, soaps and shampoos and lubricants and all sorts of things. Who knows if you might stumble upon a dock in a place like this where you'd see perhaps a craft setting on a launch platform that looked like it's something out of the 24th century, right next to what looks like a couple of men harvesting whale oil, right up next to the dock here. Perhaps that oil or different things would be used in a ship like this for different lubricants, perhaps for the landing gear, coolants, who knows? For heat, different technologies that were adapted to petroleum for us would be adapted for them. So you'd have this ancient thing from way back in the late 1800s and early 1900s incorporated into a futuristic scenario. It's a very strange thing to think about. Now, some might ask, okay, Florida Maki, what got you thinking about all this crazy stuff? Something has changed. Something has changed, and it's a big deal. NASA announces a team of scientists who will study mysterious quote-unquote UFO events in the sky. I'm sure a lot of you are like, oh boy, NASA, never a straight answer. They have changed their talking points. And this is a big deal in virtually every other press conference, whether it was the government, alphabet agency, whoever it was. they talk about these unidentified aerial phenomenon in the same context as extraterrestrials. Well, guess what? Guess what? Quote, unidentified aerial phenomena are of interest, NASA said. From a security and safety perspective, there was no evidence UAPs are extraterrestrial in origin, NASA emphasized during the initial announcement in June. This is the first time I have heard them say this. There was no evidence UAPs are extraterrestrial, but we're going to continue to look into where they're coming from. See, that's a big deal. That is a huge, huge deal. This is from Smithsonian, where they say basically the same thing. The agenda now is to find out what is causing these aerial phenomenon, and they are divorcing it from the idea of searching for extraterrestrial life. NASA is joining, this is Northrop Grumman, NASA is joining the search for UFOs, but not because they believe aliens are the cause. See, this is the thing everyone should be waiting for when they say, okay, not likely outer space. Possibility for real scientific discovery. U.S. steps up investigations into UFOs. This is France 24. And they wait until the very bottom of this article to say it. With high-quality cameras capturing intentional images, there is the potential for all sorts of new findings that could be meteorites, whatever. Who knows? There might be natural phenomena that are to be discovered, meaning from Earth. It's important to keep an open mind. And here's another quote, there is no evidence that UAPs are extraterrestrial. Space industry expert shares why she doesn't think aliens have been to Earth and that none of this has anything to do with outer space. They know something. They know something, and they know it will rewrite history. And I think they're terrified just as they are of what's happening next Tuesday. They're terrified of what's happening next Tuesday for the exact same reason. They can't control it. They have lost control of the narrative. They've lost the ability to influence things in the way they used to. And they're flummoxed. They're throwing temper tantrums. They want to be the ones to be seen as being the great revealers of all this. But this might reveal itself all by itself. And what's going to happen next Tuesday is going to happen irrespective of what anybody says. All of their messaging experts, flummoxed. They're looking at Joe Biden and they're saying, Joe Biden, we've given you every possible piece of influencing speech that we know to give you. And it's not moving the needle. It's because things have changed. Sometimes things shouldn't change. These were great vehicles at the time. They weren't broke. In the 60s and 70s, they needed tweaked. They needed things to be made a little bit better. But the direction they've gone now with vehicles, it's horrible. These were, for the money, some of the best vehicles on the road. And as proof today, try to find one. Try to find somebody who has one who will even sell it to you for any price. And I think it's indicative that you can have old tech, you can have new tech, and you can have even unknown tech. And you can put it all together. And you can create something you'd never thought you have. So anyway, I will leave it there. God bless. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.